Video games for many people are a relaxing escape from the stresses of daily life. Whether it's your 9-to-5 job or your evening home from school, having a nice way to unwind with a video game is always a good thing that has kept gamers coming back to the medium for over 4 decades now. One genre of games that is surprisingly relaxing to myself and many others is the city building genre of video games. This is where you craft and manage the resources of a city, with duties ranging from setting taxes to deciding where the new bank or fire department will be located. Now, while that may not sound like a great time at the outset, somehow the game Simcity managed to accomplish this gameplay style in a most remarkable fashion when it launched on the Super Nintendo. So today, I'd like to shine the spotlight on a classic title from the early 90s, Simcity on the Super Nintendo. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I post these game spotlights each week where I dive into the history, design, gameplay, music, and more of these classic retro games to discuss what made these classic titles so great. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the video. As a launch title on the Super Nintendo and the first console appearance of the series, Simcity was released to critical reception in April of 1991. The game was developed by Nintendo under license of Maxis, the owner of the IP. But the game series Simcity was actually created by a man named Will Wright, who appears in the game as the parody character Dr. Wright. Simcity was originally a PC game that created the entire spin-off series The Sims, which has grown in popularity and has an identity all of its own. Because of the PC roots of this gameplay style, the game was developed by Nintendo to help bring a different audience to their brand and to the SNES system. And since this was a few years before the release of the SNES mouse peripheral, the team at Nintendo adapted the controls to function on their brand new SNES gamepad, and the game controls extremely well. Upon booting up the game, you're greeted by a soothing melody and the night sky across the background as the Simcity logo rises onto the screen, resembling how your future city will be built up right from the ground to the skies above. The Nintendo, Maxis, and Simcity logos across the back of the title screen has always been a nice touch as well. The game is a single-player experience only and starts with you choosing from a few options at the main menu: Practice, Start a New City, and Select a Scenario. Practice mode is a limitless version of the game where money is not a factor and you can build your city to your heart's content. Starting a New City, which is the meat and potatoes of the game, is the primary game mode, having you craft your city from the ground up as the mayor, with controls over everything from taxes to the location of the new park. Finally, there's Select a Scenario mode, which puts you in the shoes of a mayor during several hypothetical situations in some familiar locations. These include having you manage a San Francisco earthquake in 1906 or the rising crime rate in Detroit during the early 70s. One of my favorite ones personally is the Tokyo Monster Attack of 1961, in which King Koopa himself, Bowser, destroys Tokyo and you have to mitigate the damage and clean up the mess. Truly some wacky scenarios that spice up the game. And now for the main attraction of the game, creating your own Metropolis. The start of your bustling city begins with a name, a land area, and the selection of your starting funds. Easy mode starts you off with a generous sum of money to start building, while hard mode will leave you with less money and a tighter budget for expansion, leading to more strategic and difficult decisions to be made early on. Additionally, the game provides you nearly 1,000 different land areas to build your city on, providing nearly endless options for those looking to craft their perfect city. After this, the game begins in the year 1900 and you begin adding everything to the land, from a power supply to a network of roads and railroads, and zoning for the 3 areas of the game: residential, commercial, and industrial. Balancing these 3 measurements of your town is at the core of the gameplay experience, as the chart in the upper right part of the screen shows you what is in most demand by your residents or people seeking to move into your new city. When the bars are raised, it is in the mayor's best interest to accommodate the expansion while also taking into account aspects such as location, pollution, traffic, and even the crime rates. Simcity is truly a game that people can sink their teeth into, with a ton of layers to unpack. Luckily, Nintendo and Maxis did a great job transferring the PC game experience to the Super Nintendo, And of the best ways they did this was with the green selection bar across the top of the screen. Starting with the top, you can adjust and observe data about your town. From left to right, the display controls include speeding up the time, an options menu to turn on and off various tools, the disasters tab, an information tab displaying charts of your city's progress, a save feature, one of the earliest games to include this by the way, the advice tab in which Mr. Wright gives you the most important task you should address, the magnifying glass, and the helicopter tab. To the right of that is your population and available funds, which are always available on screen for you to monitor your progress. The main use of this upper tab is to study your city's biggest needs and address sweeping change such as a huge tax hike, which can often bring in immediately needed funds, but may also drive your population down as the citizens become unhappy with the high cost of living. The game allows you to adjust these taxes annually, and you can sit there and tweak your city's variables to make it optimal for your city. The main idea is at the top of the screen is essentially your guide to keeping your city in balance and running on track. Next up is your construction tab on the left-hand side of the screen. This allows you to add to your city everything that it needs, from roads, power lines, parks and recreation, zoning options, police departments, fire departments, airports, and sports stadiums, all of which affect the happiness and safety of your citizens. If you plan out the roads well, there will be massive traffic jams causing issues in your town. Also, the placement of industrial zoning and power plants near homes can drive up pollution issues with your citizens, and that is the core strategy of the game, placing items in their most appropriate places to maximize your growth and success, while also leaning into the creative side and making it the city that you had the vision to see. One aspect that I've always found unique was that you don't have to place buildings onto the map. You simply need to select your zoning options, and the citizens will begin to move in based on what is available and begin crafting their own businesses, homes, or industrial sites. This leaves you as mayor to make the large-scale decisions with less of the small tasks to attend to, and I do think that SimCity benefits from this feature, making it more of a simple experience with more broad decisions needing to be made. As your population grows, you will reach several milestones as mayor. You start as a village, then progress to town, then city, capital, Metropolis, and finally, Megalopolis. These milestones are achieved by raising your population to higher and higher numbers, and with each milestone comes a new background song as well. This is another aspect of SimCity they hit out of the park, right from the start. Everything from the beginning theme to the Metropolis song is perfectly serenading you throughout your time with SimCity. What you begin to notice is that the layers of instrumentation start to increase as the population increases, reflecting your progress as mayor. It also serves as a soothing background to the construction process, making for a most relaxing experience when playing. So now, we've come to the question of whether SimCity holds up today in 2021. I actually think that it does. This game was among the first of its kind and has spawned countless knockoffs such as City Skylines on Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch, as well as games like Tropico and Civilization. These are massively advanced from SimCity and offer so many ways to customize a city or civilization to your liking. However, one of the key differences is that many times these newer titles are so complicated to the point of sort of hindering the fun aspect of the game. For example, I have a friend who plays City Skylines, but there was an instance in which he could not add a certain road that he wanted to for his town due to an elevation issue or some type of other complication. This was a jarring experience as he tried to figure out the right button to change the land to accommodate his new road, and ultimately this instance took away from the joy of making the city in that game. Now, while City Skylines is still a great game, SimCity is the opposite in that it tries to make the experience seamless and hassle-free for the player by making the controls and options simple yet intuitive. Many games have been inspired throughout the years by SimCity. I mean, the entire Sims series started with this title, as well as the countless other city-building games. And yet, despite being among the first, SimCity delivers an interesting, intuitive, and solid experience throughout all of its game modes, and it even got started on the Super Nintendo of all consoles. The city starts with a blank canvas for you to intricately craft your creation, and does little to get in the way of itself in the process. Honestly, there are so many layers of strategy and gameplay to this game that I feel like I've really only scratched the surface of it, but my main intention is to showcase what makes this game great back in the day and still makes it great today. The relaxing gameplay style and creative elements truly still shine and are easy to get into for the first time. SimCity is relatively easy to find out on the used game market as well as on the Super Nintendo, and if given the chance, I'd give this one a try. Many hours of crafting cities awaits you, and the management of your city has never been more fun than in SimCity on the Super Nintendo. Thank you for watching the video. Have you played SimCity? Is the city planning style of game something you enjoy? Let me know down in the comments below which games that I should check out in this genre. I post new game spotlights each Sunday, including a variety of other retro game related content on the channel. So remember to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Thanks.